Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Tofik. Today you'll be learning all you need to know about cold emailing. Today is a very good day. I'm very happy and I'm sure I'll put that same energy into this video. So stay tuned. I'll not only be presenting about cold emailing, I'll also be showing you as usual the template of a cold email that got my friend a positive response. If you are someone that recently sent a lot of cold emails and you have not received any response, it's okay. Or you're someone who don't even know what cold email is, this video is for you. If you have sent me a message before to ask me if it's relevant to get a response before you apply to school, to the school you're applying to, if you are asking maybe do you need to send cold email after you have applied or before you have applied, then stay till the end of this video as we'll be learning everything about cold emailing. Okay, let's go on. So the first thing is what is the content of what should you expect from this video? Generally, we are going to treat what cold emailing is, who should you send a cold email to, how to draft a cold email. This is where I'll show you the template of cold email that got my friend a positive response, and then what you should not do when writing a cold email. Very, very important. If not, you might not receive a response or you get a response that you are not expecting, right? So what is a cold email? A cold email is an initial unsolicited email that is sent to a professor or potential supervisor without prior notice in order to seek for PhD position or MSc position in their research group. So generally, cold email is just an email you send to a professor. You don't have to know the professor. You just send it to the professor to request to join the professor's lab. When sending this code email, you have to be specific, don't be generic, don't use AI generated code email. This is very important. Now, who do you send this code email to? This code email is sent to professors, to researchers that you are interested in working with just because their area of interest aligns with your area of interest. How do you find this professor? If you have not watched my previous video on how to search for schools, check professor, and update it to your scholarship tracker, kindly go ahead and watch that video to learn how to find the professors working in the area of your interest. Now that you have identified the professor, the first step to do before applying to the school is to send them a cold email. When I was applying for my PhD position in 2021 for 2022 admission, I sent a lot of cold emails, but when I was applying this time around, I did not send any cold email. So one thing I'll tell you is sending cold email is entirely your choice, but it's very good to send cold emailing. If you send a cold email and you did not get response, it's fine. Sometimes the school just have a rule of professors not responding to their email. However, they have seen it, and if they are interested in your profile, they are looking out for your application. So to answer the question of if you don't get a response, should you go ahead and apply to the school? Kindly go ahead and apply to the school if you are interested in that school, regardless of if the professor reply your cold email or not. There are few schools in US that require you to already seek a professor before applying. For example, if you apply to Duke University Biomedical Engineering, seeking a professor beforehand is very important, right? So such school, you might want to like send cold emails, and if you don't get a response, the chances of you getting in might be low. However, most of the schools in US have like a general application system, so it's like a central application. Everybody apply, the admission committee review everybody's application, no biasness, and people are selected. From the selected prospect now, the professors now select who they want to work with. So if you already send a code email to a professor, the professor can easily say, yes, I saw an email from this person. I want to work with the person. So this is generally how it works. So one thing you can also do is apply to schools. Then after you have applied, you send your code email. In this way, you'll be informing the professor that you already applied to the school. Then that way the professor can, if the professor is interested in you, he will check it out, right? So let's go forward. Now, what is the element of a code email? This is the most important part. This is where I also show you the code email that got my friend a positive response. So at this part, we are going to learn everything about code email. So if you are writing a code email, you want your code email to contain the following elements. Number one, the subject. Number two, the salutation, the introduction, why you are contacting the professor. This is the most important aspect of your code email. Generally, in this place is where you introduce the professor's research, what the professor is doing, to show that you know what the professor is doing. And then this same part is where you introduce yourself and show how your research interests align with the professor's research interests. And then finally, the closing remark where you thanks the professor and go ahead to tell the professor that you have attached your document, and if the professor want to meet via Zoom, you are available. So now let's move on. What is the subject of a code email? Remember, everything you'll be seeing there are samples from my friend code emailing. So generally, the subject of a code email, you have to keep it simple and straight to the point. Like for example of it is just saying prospective MS/PhD student, like straight to the point, no any issue. However, there are several titles you can choose to use. If the position you're applying to is like, let's say, an email that was sent or maybe a position that was advertised, sometimes they can tell you that, okay, if you are sending an email for this advertised position, you should use a particular title. So go ahead and use that title. If not, use title as simple as prospective MS student. If you're applying for masters, if you're applying for PhD, prospective PhD student, there are no hard rules to this. I remember there was a time I wrote a code email back then in 2021 to 2022 admission. In the code email, my title was, "Will you be my supervisor?" And I put question mark. It could be anything, right? But then you have to be as straight as forward as possible. I got a positive response from that email. However, it's not always so. So the best thing I always advise people is to just say prospective PhD student, and you are good. Now that you have your subject, what is the next thing? Your salutation. So it's straight to the point. Dear Professor, then the full name of the professor, as you have seen on the website. So, for example, dear Professor Adewale Adeleke, and you are good to go. Then the next thing is the introduction. This part is very important. You have to keep it as simple as possible and go straight to the point. You are sending the professor an email for the first time. The professor don't know you from anywhere. So it is your responsibility to introduce yourself properly, right? For example, how my friend introduced himself is, "Greetings. My name is Abdusalam Abdulaziz, and I am from Nigeria. I recently graduated with a bachelor degree in biomedical engineering at the University of Ilori, where I finished with a first class final CGPA 4.99 over 5.0 and emerged as the best graduating student in my class. Special note, all the names and figures used in this tutorial are features. We just generated the name anyway. This is not my friend name, so take note of that. So yeah, so this is basically how you come up with your introduction. If you look at this introduction, he's first of all say greeting. This is not important. You can decide not to even greet at all. It's your choice, right? You can just go straight to the point. My name is this, and I recently graduated. If your CGPA is not high, you don't have to put it here. Another thing you can decide to put in your introduction right from the start is your research interest. You can say, "Oh, my research interest is in this, and that," and then you move on, right? So this is very important. You keep it short and simple. Another template I've used before in writing a code email, like I said, this introducing yourself first is the best choice, right? But I've done it in a way before that I didn't introduce myself immediately. I first of all went to talk about the professor's research and my interest, just like that, just to keep the professor curious that who is this person. And then in the second paragraph, now, and I introduce myself. Trust me, this has a disadvantage, right? Because some professor want to know who you are before you are even messaging, right? So this is the best method to just go straight and introduce yourself as easy as possible. Then after introduce yourself, what is the next thing? Why are you contacting the professor? So now in this paragraph, like I said, you have to do three things. Number one is talk about the professor's research. Let the professor knows that yes, you are really interested in working with me and you have done your research. Two, introduce your experience, right? Oh, okay, I've also done this, that. Let the professor know that yes, you are capable. And finally, tell the professor that yes, your research interest and my research interest are in par. So now, how did my friend goes about his? He started by introducing the professor's work. He said, "I recently came across your work and publication while surfing through Purdue University Biomedical Engineering graduate program, and I find them amazing as your research areas mirror my research interest. I'm particularly interested in your work on wearable glucose monitoring and implantable drug delivery system for diabetics management. I am thrilled to learn about your progress in adopting wearable device as a therapeutic treatment techniques." You see, he's making some little inference on the professor's project, right? Some comment. Research in this area possesses a promising breakthrough in medicine and will be of great advantage to precision and personalized medicine in the nearest future. Very straight to the point. Now, time for you to sell yourself, right? You have introduced the professor's work. The professor know that, okay, you are not generic. Then time for you to sell yourself. My friend now said, during my undergraduate, I led a team to develop a non-invasive glucometer in which we employed an acetone gas sensor to determine the blood glucose level in human system. We recorded testing results with remarkable accuracy compared with the existing invasive glucometer. I am proficient in using tool SYZ to carry out ABC. I also have SES experience using APC machine, and I look forward to learn how to use SYZ to achieve ABC. So you see, what my friend is doing here is typically telling the professor that, yes, I'm not just coming with empty head, right? I have done a project in this area before, and I know what it is, and I can use this machine, and I can carry out these particular techniques. And also, I have this social experience using this machine, and I hope to be able to use this machine when I join your lab. You see, he's showing him his strength, and at the same time, he's not also telling him that, oh, I'm jack of all trade. Though he's also telling him that, yes, I want to learn this from you. So which is like a very good techniques, right? So you have to take note of this. Now, if you don't have, let's take for example, your research area is not related to the professor's research area, go ahead and still talk about your final year project or whichever project that you have done that is closely related. And then you can now go ahead and say your research interest. That, okay, my research interest is in this, which also align then with your research. So that way you have still shown an alignment because you don't want to talk about your undergraduate research and it's totally not even related to the professor's research. And at the same time, you did not say your research interest and you now say your research mirrors the professor's research. So you have to take note of that. Then after this now, you can now go ahead and finalize your reason for contacting the professor, right? So you can now say, I am currently applying to Purdue University PhD program, and I would like to know if you are still accepting PhD for fall 2022 as I'm interested in joining your research team. As your research area clearly align with my interest, and it will be a privilege to work under your tutelage. I believe my background will fit well into your lab. Straight to the point, right? So now this is the point where you tell the professor the reason why you are applying. Then the next thing is closing. So this is where you tell the professor that you have attached certain document. Like here, for example, please find attached a copy of my CV and transcript. I'm also available to discuss this possibility further and learn more about your current research and lab over Zoom meeting or interview about my eligibility to fit into the lab. I am looking forward to hearing from you. You have to take note of one thing here. You are already telling the professor that yes, you have attached certain document. If you are sending a code email, it is very important for you to attach your academic CV. For me, I don't usually put my transcript. I usually just put my academic CV. However, if you have a very good and fancy grade, you can always add your transcript. For me, my grade was good, but I just prefer to put my CV. Also, make sure your CV is well organized. If you have not watched my video where I presented the CV that got me two fully funded PhD offer in the US in the 2021 to 2022 application season, kindly go ahead and watch that video for you to know how best to format your video. And yeah, this is it about cold emailing. So special note on this is this. You don't have to get a reply from a professor before you apply to a school. If you like the school, go ahead and make your application. You can also send cold email after you have applied to the school as regards before applying to the school. Remember, cold emailing is a very powerful tool and it has helped people get funding just by sending the code email. So you make sure you utilize it. Check this template out. Don't write any generic code emailing. This is very, very important. And as a closing um, remark, what are the do's and don'ts of code emailing? For your code emailing, like I said earlier, don't be generic. Don't send without proper review. You don't want to send a code email where, let's say, you are sending code email to a different professor, and then instead of you forget to change the name of the professor. this automatically is an automatic rejection, right? Or maybe in a professor, you say, no, your research is this, and then you are sending to the next professor, you forget to change that research. So you have to review it properly before you send it. Don't make your code email too lengthy. These professors are very busy. So rather, you should be as precise as possible. And most importantly, don't be too desperate. Don't lie in your code email. Don't say you can use equipment that you cannot use. You can see this is an example of a student who claimed to have known how to use a particular instrument that doesn't exist in Nigeria. I mean, maybe he went outside Nigeria to use it, we don't know, but the professors make a point in this code email. Look at the response. Just imagine you send a code email to the professor expecting a positive response, but instead you got this response. Thank you for your interest in my group and in atmospheric chemistry research. I unfortunately do not have any available funding position in my group for 2022 or 2023 start date, which is fine and good. But the professor now went further and said, as far as I know, there are no Vogos instruments in Nigeria. How do you have experience using this rare and expensive instrument? Question mark. This question mark, the professor is not saying reply me. The professor say all the best with your future career. The professor is not saying reply me. If you choose to reply me, fine. But I'm just curious. This instrument is not available in Nigeria. How do you know how to use it? Probably it's possible this person might have seen that the professor is using such an equipment in his lab. He went to watch some YouTube video and then sent code email that, oh, I can use it, right? If not, probably the instrument does the person went outside Nigeria to use it, or maybe there's a place in Nigeria the professor doesn't know. Well, since we don't know the person, we will never know if it is true or not. But one thing I'm saying is don't be desperate, don't put things you cannot prove, right? So thank you. If you have made it to this point, it shows that you are really resilient about this scholarship journey, and I'm sure you are going to receive a positive response soon. Always remember that all you need is just 1 year to go to your dream program, the education you feel you cannot afford, get a scholarship for it, and then you're already studying in your dream school. So always remember that your dreams are valid, put on the hard work, and your own offer is coming very soon. If you have any question, you can always drop it in the comment section. Check out of my several videos on YouTube. I've uploaded several videos on applying for scholarship. So check them out. Make sure you follow me, subscribe to my YouTube channel, share my post, turn on your post notification. We are all together in this, and thank you very much. Also, special shout out to my friend to compiling this slide for us. You are the real MVP. Thank you all. Bye.